What's going on, Eskimos? I'm your crazy host, Jason Escamilla.
And I'm your co-host, JesCuDi.
Today, we're reviewing Insidious, The Last Key, the final installment in the Insidious series. It's directed by Robitel and stars Shaye, Angus, Sampson, and Leigh Whannell. These movies have been with us since 2010, and it's crazy that they've existed for over 7 years now.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I saw these movies as they were released, and this dude over here just barely saw them, but we made sure to watch them a day before our screening just so he could know what was going on and I could get a recap.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think that you should watch these films if you haven't seen them. I had not got the chance to see them until recently, but I'm glad that I did. Go watch them if you haven't, because you will have a better experience watching this movie if you watch them. It won't have the same effect if you don't watch them.
I agree. I think you should go watch the first 3 films, or it's not going to be as good. You'll get a gist of it, but some stuff might be hard to follow. If you have time, you should watch the first 3.
Definitely go watch them. So, Insidious, the final chapter, is a film that focuses on Elise as she goes and helps a man named Gerald Rayner, who's played by Josh Stewart, whose family now resides in the home Elise used to live in as a young girl. We get to see flashbacks to Elise's past, and the movie comes full circle, connecting to all 3 of the previous films. I liked this final installment. There's some things that could have been better, but my feelings were more so positive than negative. This movie shines a spotlight on Elise's character, which I think is the best thing they could have done. We have known this woman for over 7 years now, and being able to dig into her past and reveal more things about her that we didn't know was so enlightening. We had some emotional moments with this character who I felt we previously knew little about, other than that she knows how to connect with these spirits and go into the further. They did a great job at showing us more of the character's past, and I feel like I know Elise more than I ever have before.
Yeah, I think Elise is everyone's favorite character. She's done a great job over the past few years at nailing her role. And Tucker, one of Elise's assistants, he's pretty funny too in this film, but he's nowhere near as interesting and complex as Elise.
Yeah, Elise definitely has the most history to her. And Shaye, the actress who plays her, gives us a magnificent performance as Elise. The opening to this movie is really strong, and you will learn a shockingly amount of new information about her character, which I think long-term Insidious fans will appreciate, and that's why we think you should watch the previous films. This is more enjoyable if you already know a little bit about Elise.
For sure, I like this movie, but there are a few improvements I think that could have been made or just made more clearly.
Yeah.
One of them being the further timeline. It's a bit confusing chronologically because we saw in previous Insidious films that the spirits are not bounded by time.
Yeah.
They can travel in the past, the present, and future as opposed to the real world where time is only linear. So when you try to figure out the order of the films, it's challenging because most of them show flashbacks and jump to different periods of time.
Yeah.
But because of this timeline in the further, I don't think there's a true sequence to these films.
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out the order that they all go in. I would agree to that. I would say that the order of the films for the most part is Chapter 3, then this one, The Last Key, Part 1, and then 2. Only sort of, because even in this film, we see lengthy flashbacks to Elise's childhood, and that all happens before any of the other films. And then at the end of the film, there's a nice connection to the first 2 movies. However, most of the events that are considered to be in the present in this movie happen after Part 3. So I would say that the order is 3, 4, 1, 2, with small exceptions for each one. Like in Part 2, we see Elise's spirit go back to the events from the middle of the first film, even though most of the things in Part 2 are happening after Part 1. Anyway, timeline's confusing. I think they should have been more clear on it.
I also think the PG-13 rating limits the film in some ways. We for sure can't see lots of blood, and it takes away from how dangerous these evil spirits can be. We know we aren't going to see someone get hurt too badly. The spirits would have felt more like a threat had we been able to see them do more gruesome things.
Definitely, I agree. An R rating would have allowed the creators to make the spirits more dangerous, but I do understand them wanting more audiences to be able to see this feature, and obviously they make more money if it's a PG-13 rating, more people can go see it. My nitpick has to do with the pacing of some of the sequences. A lot of scenes have characters walking around, so something unexpected can pop up and make a loud noise, and those parts don't really scare me. I get startled by the rise in volume, but it's such a cheap trick. I get why they do it builds anxiety, but I think there's several walking around scenes that I feel like, oh, we've seen this before, hurry up, walk faster so the thing can pop up, and those are my least favorite. I wish they could have done something different or unexpected. I was much more interested in the scenes involving Elise's character and flashbacks to her childhood.
I actually like the rise in volume and jump scares because it builds up the suspense and makes it feel more like a horror movie. But yeah, I agree. The way they do them feels like all the other ones that we've seen, and that's what makes it hard to rank these movies because they're all pretty similar.
Yeah.
So if you like the previous ones, you'll definitely like this one.
I agree, and if you did not like the previous ones, this isn't going to change your perspective. It's not like this is so much different. It's very similar to the previous movies as far as the scare scenes go. The production of this movie is good. The makeup work on characters and evil spirits was solid. The framing and editing was mostly well done. Nothing bad stood out to me. And with that being said, I'm going to give Insidious: The Last Key a B-.
I'm going to give it a B. I think it was a good movie, but I don't think the story is A-worthy. What do you think about the other Insidious films?
For those of y'all that are curious, here's what I thought about the previous films for this Insidious series. They're all pretty close to each other as far as how I felt, C+ to B range. They're entertaining movies overall, but very typical and what you'd expect of a horror franchise. What do you think of Insidious: The Last Key? Comment below with your favorite Insidious films from best to worst. Also, check out the EskimoTV Facebook and Twitter pages. Like, follow, and as always, if you enjoyed this review, like this video, subscribe to EskimoTV, and hit the bell button right next to it so you can get updates on the latest icy and chilly EskimoTV reviews.
Peace out.